if you're a normal person who's not accused of murder, who doesn't need to be in the Supreme Court, I don't want you to even have to interact with a lawyer. And that sounds really crazy, but it seems like a very fair outcome. There's no reason why, if your landlord keeps your security deposit, it should be so complicated to get justice. So everything that a consumer would want from the legal system, I want to provide for free.
Yeah.
And hopefully this app will be the first step in doing that.
Today on LawNext, we're going to be talking about chatbots in law. This is Bob Ambrogi, and I am here at the Clio Cloud Conference, where I have just heard a talk given by Joshua Browder, who's the founder of DoNotPay, and Joshua's agreed very kindly to sit down with me for a kind of an impromptu recording session here. He's just made some announcements of some new things he's working on, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Before we get to Joshua, I want to take just a second to thank the sponsors who generously support LawNext. And now, on to this week's interview. So, Joshua, nice to talk to you. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm such a big fan of your show.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate it. So, for people who don't know you, if there are any out there listening who don't, you founded DoNotPay, 2 years ago, was it?
In 2015, so almost 3 years ago.
2015. Yeah. And tell us your story, because you were a 17-year-old in England when you founded this. What was the genesis?
Well, like most 17-year-olds, or maybe I was unique, I was a really terrible driver. And as a result of that, I got about 30 parking tickets over the course of my driving career. And after about the fourth ticket as a teenager, my parents told me, "You're on your own, you have to pay for your own fines." And I didn't have the money to pay for these expensive parking tickets in the UK. And so as someone who likes to bend the rules a bit, I looked through all these obscure government documents that help people get out of their parking tickets. Like, for example, if the parking bay is too small or the signs were hard to read. And I wrote these appeal letters to get out of my own fines, and I was shocked when I was successful. And as a software engineer, I thought, why not make an app that automatically gets people out of their parking tickets? And it wasn't long before my family and friends were using it. I could never have imagined that 3 years later, I'd be talking to you with over $16 million appealed in parking tickets, which made me realize
60 or 16?
1.6, unfortunately.
$16 million.
Yeah. And
that's around, what jurisdictions are
in the US and the UK. Mainly the UK, though.
Yeah.
And it all made me realize that the idea of making the law free is bigger than a few parking fines. And so over the past few years, I've been working on doing everything that an average person would want from the legal system, which culminates next Wednesday, the 10th of October, with a huge announcement where you can sue anyone just by pressing a button for under $25,000 in small claims court.
We'll talk more about that in a second.
Yeah.
Just personally, you've since moved from England to San Francisco. You're at Stanford, and you've moved your company. I mean, DoNotPay has become an official company,
yes.
And you've got employees. And so tell us a little bit about where you're at right now and what you're doing right now.
So right now it's a team of 8 people, and we're working in Silicon Valley. There's an app that helps you manage all your credit scores and finances. There's an app that helps you trade stocks for free. Why isn't there an app that allows you to interact with the legal system for free? And that's what we're working on as a team of 8.
And just to step back again to DoNotPay, so what exactly does DoNotPay do?
So at the moment, it helps with generating about 1,000 different legal letters, which is useful, but a letter can only get you so far. Starting Wednesday, it will do a lot more and handle the processes from start to finish to help you fight big corporations, beat bureaucracy, and get money you're owed.
So the initial idea was you have a parking ticket, you entered in some information, and it generates the papers. What does it do to help you fight that parking ticket?
So it plays a game of 20 questions with you about your parking ticket. It asks you, were the signs too hard to read, or was the parking bay too small? Once it identifies a legal defense, it then takes down a few details like a chatbot. It talks to you back and forth, and then uses those details to generate a legally sound appeal letter, which you can then send to the local authorities to get out of your ticket.
And so you've had $16 million of tickets gotten rid of, whatever the right word would be, since then. And then was it last year that you moved into airline delay appeals? And that's mostly just in the EU, right?
No, also the US as well.
The US also?
Price protection in the US.
So what is that? Tell us about that.
So there are lots of these obscure rules that make even the most non-refundable ticket refundable. So one example that everyone knows about is the 24-hour rule. So every fare can be cancelled within 24 hours. But then beyond that, if there was a weather warning for your flight from the National Weather Service, they have to let you cancel it. If the flight time departure changes, they have to let you cancel it. And so I thought, with all of these cancellation loopholes, why not add price protection to that? If you can cancel and rebook a ticket and the price drops, consumers should automatically be able to get the lower price. So you can connect your travel bookings and hotels as well. And whenever the price drops on one of those bookings, DoNotPay will switch it to the lower price. The same seat in the same plane, but just for cheaper.
So it just occurred to me as you're saying that I'm not even sure whether everybody listening to this knows what we're talking about when we're talking about a bot. I'm assuming a lot of people do, but let's just define that. What are we talking about here?
A bot is a piece of software that speaks to you. And so DoNotPay I like to think of as a robot lawyer. That's a very controversial term, though, because it asks you questions and then dynamically responds with things based on what you said.
Yeah. Well, it's controversial in part because it raises fear in the hearts of lawyers all across the country that robots are going to take away their work. Is that the goal here?
I think there are definitely at least a few lawyers that are exploiting people. There's a law firm in the UK called Road Traffic Representation. I don't want to pick on them, but they help people appeal parking tickets, which hopefully DoNotPay now does for free. But the main thing which we discussed here at the Clio conference is that a lot of these issues no one is helping with. And so I'm not looking to replace people, just help people get access to justice.
And again, I want to talk more specifically about some of the stuff you're working on, but what's your kind of greater goal for how what you want to do with bots? I mean, when you say you want to help people with access to justice, what's the big picture for you? Where can this go?
If you're a normal person who's not accused of murder, who doesn't need to be in the Supreme Court, I don't want you to even have to interact with a lawyer. And that sounds really crazy, but it seems like a very fair outcome. There's no reason why, if your landlord keeps your security deposit, it should be so complicated to get justice. So everything that a consumer would want from the legal system, I want to provide for free. And hopefully this app will be the first step in doing that.
And of course, a lot of the people who are in that situation aren't going to, even if they wanted a lawyer, aren't going to get a lawyer. I mean, there is a huge access to justice problem, and this probably helps tap into a huge unmet need.
Yeah. And in an earlier podcast, like Mark Britton, I think, said to you that a lot of people don't even know what lawyers do. And I think that's really true. People think that lawyers can help them sue their landlord, but most lawyers aren't even interested in helping people with that. So I think it's really serving an unmet need. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what you're launching. We're here on, what is it, Friday, October 5th as we're recording this. And so next Wednesday, you said you're going to be rolling out a series of 15 new products. And one of these, probably the most immediately impactful for a lot of people is basically going to help them file actions in small claims court. Right? So what is that called and what's it going to do?
So it's all under the DoNotPay app brand, but I should mention the backstory for this product.
Sure.
So last year, there was this huge data breach with Equifax with hundreds of millions of Americans. And I wanted to do something to help people with that. And it seemed like the only way people could get justice at the time was by being part of a class action lawsuit. But of course, that takes 4 years, and then you get a $50 check in the mail that's not very helpful. I thought that the best way to get back at Equifax was if we had thousands of small claim lawsuits across the country against them. And so just as a side project, I decided in California and New York, anyone just by pressing a button and entering a few details can generate a small claims lawsuit against Equifax. And at the time, people said it's absolutely ridiculous. How can you prove negligence in small claims court? But it actually turned out that a lot of people were winning these cases. I was actually surprised at the success of my own product. I didn't have high hopes, but we had like a $9,000 judgment. And then Equifax would appeal these judgments with their like deputy general counsel attending a small claims court hearing against an average person. And they would still win. Even the appeal. And so this made me realize that how powerful the small claims process is. Judges are very sympathetic. And so as long as you have the right documents, you can get justice. And so I spent the last year working to do it for all issues.
So it's going to cover all 50 states?
All 50 states,
county
4,000
in every
counties.
state, every jurisdiction? How did you even do that? How did you build this in the first place?
So we sat at a whiteboard as a team and we said, what's common with all these 4,000 counties? And the things that are common is you need to file a lawsuit, you need to generate a demand letter, you need to say something to the judge, and you need to answer some questions about your case. And so we said, okay, well, to file a lawsuit, we outsourced all the different either standard court filings or instructions, which change a lot in all of these counties. So that gets generated for you. The demand letter is very simple, which also gets generated based on the state law. The script, how complicated can it be, these issues? And so that gets generated for you. And then finally, the common questions that your opponent or the judge would ask you also gets generated. So with those 4 things and step-by-step instructions, we hope it will work everywhere. But we have a lot of work to do to move into different languages and provide more instructions.
And what are the areas, what are the common causes of action that this allows people to bring into small claims court?
We hope it will work for anything that anyone would want to do, and we've classified it into 12 different areas. Everything from if someone breaks a promise, to landlord issues, to automobile issues, to consumer rights in relation to if you buy something that doesn't work. If you can think of something, I think you should think of something to try and catch me out on.
Yeah, I don't know. Small claims is, so I know where I am, so much of small claims, I'm in Massachusetts, and where I am, so much of small claims is actually large companies suing consumers. Than consumers going after companies, credit card companies for small debts and just kind of banking on the idea that they're not going to show up or they're not going to defend it or whatever. And
it doesn't help companies, only consumers.
Good. That's good. I like that. So somebody will open the app on their phone, and it kind of leads them through a pretty brief, you just showed me a demo, a fairly brief set of questions, and then generates, as you said, these sort of sets of both documents and instructions for what to do with those documents, and then they follow up from there.
I'm a millennial. I love to have really simple interfaces, and so I've tried to make it really fun across the products. So with the suing anyone in small claims court, it's actually really fun to select the amount you want and all sorts of things like that.
We'll get back to my interviews in just a moment. But first, let's take a break to hear from the sponsors who generously support LawNext. And now, let's continue this week's interview.
So another one that you're launching next week deals with class actions. So again, tell us about that one.
So any consumer can instantly connect all their past receipts through things like the Gmail API, and then it will tell you all of the class action settlements that you're entitled to that you might not yet have claimed. And it will also find things called unclaimed government funds, where, for example, if you move house and you have a Comcast refund due, the Comcast actually give the money to the state, and there's $20 billion lying around in the US of people who haven't claimed the money. So those 2 things. And then when you see all the class actions or funds that you're eligible for, you can swipe left if you don't want to claim it, swipe right if you do, and then it will instantly claim it for you.
So Tinder for class actions.
Exactly. Well, I don't want to say it like that, but I guess you're right.
And how does it figure out which class actions you're eligible for? How does it make that determination?
So if you were a customer of, for example, Macy's between 2015 and 2016, you could be eligible for that sort of class action, and it can figure it out based on the fact that you've received an email from receipts@macys.com that would only suggest you're a customer there.
In what period of time, or is it looking for current things that are currently pending? And so you've built or you're maintaining a database of all the class actions that are going on in some way.
We've got 1,500 in our database, but one of the things I'm really excited about is making it a platform. We already have all this ability to ensure that the right class actions get to the right people. We want to open it up for new class actions, and that's why I'm at Clio, to get people to partner with that.
So what would that mean in terms of new class actions? What you're talking about being able to actually work with lawyers who are interested in filing class actions to help them identify members of the class. Is that fair to say?
Exactly. And my understanding is, I'm not a lawyer, but the lawyer with the most signups gets their class certified. Obviously, there are other factors that go into it, but it's a race to get as much certification as possible. And so this can really help with that. But at the moment, we're just doing settlements, surefire.
So how would that work? So and that part hasn't rolled out yet. You're talking about that sometime.
Yeah.
What, in the next year or
in the next few months?
Next few months.
I think as a consumer, you hate these big corporations. So many people I talk to hate Facebook, hate Equifax, hate Comcast, hate Uber. And
it's a love-hate relationship.
And these are useful services, of course, but people really feel wronged by them. And so they would love to be part of even the solution, rather than just saying, okay, there's a settlement pending. Why not actually be part of the lawsuit at its very earliest stages? And so soon we're going to say, if you're an attorney working on these issues, you can actually get people on board for new lawsuits, and I'm sure people would love to be a part of that in the same way they love to get free money with the settlements.
But I'm an attorney who's considering some privacy class action against some big tech company.
Yeah.
How do I use this app to identify those who potentially may have been affected by this breach or whatever?
So the reason we haven't launched today is we want to make it so that only the credible attorneys can get their things on the platform. So we're coming up with an approval process. But then you can say, were you a user? You can just, no coding required. Were you a user of Facebook between 2 dates? Or did you shop at this store between those 2 dates? And then press a button and instantly it will push out a Tinder-style option to all of the users who are relevant to try and see if they want to be part of fighting the corporation.
So it's a push notification to the users who have the app already.
Yeah. Or maybe if they just return to the app, hopefully we're going to get people addicted to saving money. They keep coming back to the app and seeing, oh, wow, I'm eligible for this settlement today. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the other one you talked about today in your presentation is one that will probably be music to the ears of my son, who produces this podcast, because he lives in San Diego, and I know the DMV is it's like it can be a constant source of headaches for people in California, and so that one is going to help people basically get around the bureaucracy of the DMV in California.
Yeah. This is, for me, the most exciting one because technically it's the most advanced. We've created a bot that will actually phone up the DMV on your behalf, speak to them as if it were a real human being. And I should mention it's a bot on the other end, so the two bots are speaking to each other.
Yeah, and so you're not harassing some poor clerk at the DMV.
And I think that's actually illegal. There are these new laws in place, and I don't want to be arrested. Anyway, and it will be able to get you an appointment in days or weeks rather than
appointment
months.
For I'm not in California, so just
anything the DMV
anything
would want.
does.
And they do IDs, they do
but
driving
so the problem
tests.
is that it generally takes a long time to get an appointment.
It takes 3 months. And the problem is every single person in California has to get a new ID or license because the existing ones in a lot of states are invalid. But for the TSA, the new security on the IDs, it's called Real ID.
So what this does is it both gets you the appointment, but then looks for opportunities where there have been cancellations where you can then squeeze in and get in faster than
it will actually call them up 400 times a day. Get you the initial appointment, then call them up and keep checking. Is there a new appointment available at a closer time?
That's not. So is there an application for that in other states? Are you looking at other states beyond California for that?
We wanted to see if it resonated with people in California. I'm sure it will, but we want to do all government services, Social Security, passport, all of these phone trees. We're actually testing at the moment, but that's not launching on Wednesday.
So of the things that other things that you're launching on Wednesday, is there anything else you'd like to highlight or talk about or at this point?
There are lots of products that really help you fight for your rights. Like, for example, one is you can connect your bank fees and then instantly appeal all your overdraft, credit card fees with banks like Wells Fargo and Chase. We help you fight Uber and Lyft cancellation charges and also reduce your fare if the driver takes poor routes. So many of these products that relate to everything we do every day. I would love for people to check it out, so I won't say any more about that.
And they would check that out at?
It's all at the DoNotPay.com/app in a single app.
/app.
Yeah. Just been approved 2 days ago.
Yeah. So, you mentioned, as you said earlier, you're not a lawyer. If you had gone through law school at this point, you would be quite ambitious, I guess. are you even 20 yet? How old are you?
I'm 21.
You're 21. Okay, good. So how do you reconcile, or should consumers be at all concerned about the fact that you're not a lawyer and you're developing these apps to help them with legal problems? How do they know that that's something that they can trust, that you're getting it right, that you're doing it right?
Yeah. I think that the good news is I don't hate all lawyers, and there are lots of them who actually help me, including those who are part of the company. Like Wilson Sonsini, for example, is actually the firm that advises us on a day-to-day basis. And we have a lot of paralegals as well who help us like get the right documents. And so I don't think a person should be worried, because something like a landlord security deposit issue is not the Supreme Court like confirmation level of legal ability. And so I wouldn't worry about actually getting the right document. I am slightly worried about unauthorized practice of law for myself, maybe like being arrested one day because I take down so many attorneys, particularly the ones who are the most aggressive.
You won't get arrested, you'll just get sued. That's
okay. Well, it is a criminal offense some wet places, but on the other hand,
I guess it is. You're right. Actually, in some states it is, I guess.
But I'm a big believer in the First Amendment, and DoNotPay is a completely free piece of software, and it's established precedent that free software, as long as it's made available publicly, is just as a software developer, you can write what you want within certain constraints, and this falls into that.
But so with respect to the question of whether consumers have anything to be concerned, it sounds like what you're saying is that there's some vetting going on by actual lawyers of the legal of the, if you want to call it advice, or the legal, I guess not advice, but what do we call it? Legal help of the documents that are being created here, and the processes that are being explained and all of that.
Yeah. And we've created a rigorous internal testing process. So not only do we have lawyers helping us with the documents, before we launch anything, we have hundreds or sometimes even thousands of people successfully defeat their issue with these products. Yeah. And that was one thing I learned from Equifax. Although people won, a lot of people lost for stupid reasons that I could have prevented.
Yeah. You mentioned the interview that I did a few weeks ago with Mark Britton, and I think one of the frustrations that Mark expressed was with the kind of the organized bar throughout the United States, and I don't know if it's the same way in the UK. Kind of, not understanding certain kinds of innovations and how they can help consumers, and getting in the way of those innovations. How do you view that? I mean, what have your interactions been? Have you been approached by the organized bar at all? Has this been an issue for you at all so far? And what would be your answer to them if this does come up?
A lot of individual lawyers have been very nasty to me with all these threats, but the bar associations have actually been really positive. I think they care a lot about access to justice. I should mention I'm an ABA legal rebel, so although they recognize me as a rebel, I think they support what I'm doing, at least for now. Yeah.
So what about the lawyers who are angry at you or whatever? I mean, how do you? What's your answer to them if they raise this for you? I mean, you just point to the access to justice issue? Is that pretty much it?
I'm a big believer in, if you do what's right, society will be on your side. And maybe that's naive because I'm young, but for now, it's been okay. I mean, how can anyone be upset with helping people for free?
Yeah. What are the... Somebody actually asked you this question in your session this morning. I thought it was an interesting one. It's kind of, what are the limits of bots? Where do bots sort of stop being useful for legal problems, and you do still need lawyers or legal professionals of some kind?
I think for the 1% of the US population that faces like incarceration and even more that faces like criminal prosecution, bots won't be able to help for a long time. Like serious issues like murder or even like felonies, serious misdemeanors, things like that. I think there are also some civil issues that will take a long time, like divorces. Like a bot's not going to negotiate $1 billion divorce settlement. But I think there are at least 50 to 60% of the law that at the moment costs hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars that definitely any reasonable person would say technology can do 100% of the time.
All of these bots are 100% free for consumers to use.
Yeah.
You don't take any money out of settlements they get. You don't charge them anything up front.
This is what upsets me the most. In the past, there have been so many quote unquote free products, but really they take 50% of what you make. And I think that's even worse than charging an upfront fee because it's not transparent. And so everything is free and you keep 100%.
So how do you sustain this as a business? How do you keep DoNotPay going off into the future?
So I don't see DoNotPay as a legal tech product. I see it as a mass market consumer rights product, similar to my favorite company is Robinhood, which makes stock trading free, and Credit Karma, which makes credit scores free. And both of those companies have found business models by selling services not related to the things that they're making free. So with the law, I'm looking to sell services that aren't legal related. For example, we help you get divorced for free, but maybe if you want counseling, you have to pay for that.
So counseling meaning you would then refer to a lawyer or something at that point, or
no? I mean like
marital counseling.
Marital counseling. So things like the legal industry is so related to everything in life that referrals to those things to help you move on with your life. So a better example would be we help you fight AT&T, and after helping you sue them for $5,000, we say at the end, by the way, Sprint is much cheaper. Do you want to switch to Sprint? Yeah. And so those sorts of referrals can make a lot of money.
Yeah. Is your platform available to others who want to create bots?
It is for letters, and we're looking into doing it for more advanced start to finish stuff. One thing on the roadmap in the next 6 months is to actually create a Reddit-style almost game where people can suggest hacks and legal tricks, and we'll automate it using the most popular ones using software. So I'm really excited about that. Would
that be something that you would want to monetize at some point? I mean, sort of having, say law firms pay to use your platform?
For like class actions maybe, but the consumer, it will always be free.
Yeah.
And we don't store any data, so it's not like that sort of play either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else is on your roadmap for the next couple of years?
Well, I mean, we've got our hands full with like beating bureaucracy and expanding all the products. So ask me in a year and we'll see. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If you can solve all the problems with dealing with bureaucracy over the next year, then that'll be pretty good right there, I guess. Well, cool. I really appreciate your taking a few minutes to sit down with me. It's a pleasure to talk to you. I think we've talked a few times, but it's the first time I've actually got to meet you, and I really respect a lot of the work you're doing and appreciate everything you do.
Thank you so much. We have a long way to go, but I really appreciate it.
You do. I've been talking with Joshua Browder, founder of DoNotPay. Big thanks to him for taking the time to talk with me. You can find out more about us at LawNext.com or in the Apple Podcast Store, where you can always leave a nice comment about us if you like the show. We appreciate that. This is Bob Ambrogi. Thanks for listening to LawNext.